So with the recent release of the Sony ZV E1, I'm wondering, are Sony actually cannibalizing their higher end cameras? They might be. So it's been about a week since Sony released the Sony ZV E1, and I have trouble putting this camera in some kind of place. Sony is claiming this camera to be the vlogger's camera, the camera of all cameras for vlogging. Now you have the same sensor that you have in the Sony A7S3 and the FX3, so I have no doubt that the image out of the ZV E1 is going to be good. And the gimmicking features that they have put in this camera is also probably good features. It's not that. But I have some problem with the ZV E1 for me, or the reason I'm not getting the Sony ZV E1 is mainly the overheating issue. Now you have probably seen several videos of other people trying out this camera and saying that, yeah, this camera overheats if you have longer shoots with it. And Sony even themselves are saying that for 4K 60 the camera will overheat after 20-30 minutes or so. My guess, the reason that they haven't put the 120 frames per second in 4K in the camera yet is that they haven't figured out how to use that without the camera overheating. So they are probably working on that in some kind of way. So for Sony to pushing this camera out to vloggers is probably the right call. But then again, I don't see how they can justify the price for a everyday vlogger unless you're making a ton of money from vlogging, because this camera it's expensive, especially here in Norway. I can actually get another A7IV without a lens for cheaper money than I can buy the new ZV E1. So for me to buy a ZV E1 would be a waste of money actually. I would rather get another Sony A7IV that I can also use for photography, because the ZV E1, it doesn't have a mechanical shutter, it just has an electronic shutter, and it's not meant for photography, and they are not claiming it to be either, so I guess that's that. But what's really interesting, or more frustrating I might say, is that Sony is not implementing these upgrades that are coming out in this lower end camera to their higher end cameras like the A1 and the A7S3. And these cameras are a lot more expensive than the ZV E1, and still we haven't got any updates for them. And I think this is a big mistake from Sony. I think they are cannibalizing their own higher end market, because I myself have been thinking about getting the A7R5 for photography instead of my A7IV, but I don't know if I want to buy the A7R5 if I don't get any updates firmware wise, implementing better features that are coming out in lower end cameras. I have problems seeing how Sony can get new people to buy their higher end cameras when they are releasing lower end cameras with higher features and not upgrading their older higher end cameras for the people that have spent so much money on them. So why would a person like that has bought a higher end camera, why would they want to go ahead and buy another high end camera when that Mark II eventually gets released, when they know that they are not getting any firmware updates for their camera and they are watching lower end cameras getting all this new stuff? I don't see how Sony is not catching up to this and releasing some kind of firmware updates for the A7S3 and the A1 especially. And if you are thinking about getting the Sony ZV E1, if you have the money for it, go ahead, buy it. It's probably a really good camera since it has the same sensor as the FX3 and the A7S3. Then the image quality is probably going to be amazing, and the features that they have put into the camera, the autofocusing features, all of that stuff, it's probably it's made the camera a really good camera. Anyway, yeah, I'm not going to buy the Sony ZV E1. Are you? Leave a comment down below. I'm going home now. Bye.